Hi everyone, I am your host Skye and this is JJ, and welcome to our podcast today where we talk about raising your standards to heal disease. So, hi, hey JJ.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone, here on Skye's channel. And also, I've got this linked up here with the YouTube and my Facebook. So, any of friends that are here, we love you. Thank you for joining. And thank you, Skye, for having me to talk about this.
Of course, well, I think you're the one to come on and talk about this because you're the one that says in your book and also often how it's all mind. Like it's all setting up the mind to get yourself to heal. And I cannot agree more.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we have so much focus on what do we eat, what do we not eat, and those things are really important. But what I find is the real struggle why people can't heal themselves and why they can't sometimes follow through with the dietary like standards that they want and the lifestyle they want is more of a battle within your own mind with yourself, if that makes sense. Like I think we feel like we're missing out on something, like we're somehow restricting ourselves. And this is a video that I did the other day that really sparked a lot of conversation, so I wanted to thank you for allowing us to expand it here because it was only like 5 minutes long. But it was more about, like, it's not that you're doing anything bad restricting yourself when you are trying to eat healthy and trying to heal yourself. It's more of a raising of the standard that you're allowing to yourself. You're loving yourself. We look at it like we're punishing ourselves to eat healthy, but it's total opposite. And once you're in the lifestyle, you can really feel that like we do, but like in the beginning it's very hard.
100%. One of the first things I noticed, because remember, I was really disconnected. I hadn't been online much or reading when I healed. And I healed based on how something made me feel good and loved and very aware that this was a long-term thing.
Mhm.
And that I was finally in this space of love. And then I come online and everyone's like, no, you've got to restrict and you're only eating like juicy fruits and that's bad and that's bad. And you've got to detox and you push through. And I'm like, oh my God, like I feel like that's what I did with like Western medicine and everything was so
Yeah.
punishing. And all of a sudden I birthed this diet from love and from the idea that if you create pain, the brain's job is to get you out of it. So push through, feel bad, this isn't good, this is restrictive. Your brain's job is to stop you doing that. And so we wonder why people then go all the way back or don't think it's not for them because the brain will create a way to not keep doing it. It is about raising your standard, knowing you feel beautiful when you have this food. You glow, you bring like a much better like aura and temperament to whatever you do. And
Hmm.
when you sit in that, it is about looking at how you can raise yourself so you can get strength and continue to do this lifestyle because it's not like a pill. You can't just do juicing for three months or raw food for 3 months, you fix the illness, and then you go back to what you were doing. We're talking about raising your standards so for life you can look after yourself.
Yes. And I make like some analogies here for us, like, you know, we have standards in just about everything we do. There are certain things we'll accept for ourselves and certain things we won't. If someone, you go to a restaurant, let's just say, and the waitress or waiter starts yelling at you, you would probably get up and walk out. That's not something that you're going to accept for yourself. If you don't drink, I said in the video, I made tap water, for example, and someone offers it to you, it's not this big deal. You're just like, no thanks, I'll have a bottle, I'll take that one. Or a
Yeah.
brand name, maybe you only have this one brand that you trust of something and you'll always buy that one. That's your standard. And then, like, even when it comes down to vegan, without even condensing the diet even further to raw vegan, but if you're a vegan, you don't make a whole lot of struggle in your mind when someone has meat, you don't want it, you don't take it, it's not what you'll put in your body because now you've went to a different standard for your diet. And I think we look at that as negative. And a lot of things in our life are just perception, how we see them. And we're often programmed to see things negative, like, oh, you think you're better because you're eating this way, but you're just trying to do better for yourself. And you really have to own that, just like you own anything else that's a standard for you. You are deserve to be healthy. You deserve to feel good.
Yes.
And what you put in is totally your own, love for yourself, not something that you should be punishing. And punishing yourself is putting the
Yes.
chemicals in.
That's right. And it's all, and this is why I say to people, go slow so you don't shock yourself. Like
Mhm.
to elevate to a standard that you want. And we're always changing our standards, right? Wanting
Mhm.
it to be better for ourselves. Like, how do we find what works for us? You really have to sit in a space of love, listening to your body, and doing it for you. And a huge standard is when you go out and you're offered a whole lot of food, is don't be angry at everybody around you. You simply just make a decision as to what your standard is. And
Mhm.
when you raise your standard and that reflects in your life, and someone shows up and they've got a high standard for themselves, is people see the result of the high standard, better health, better spiritual health, better connections, less stress. And that's all a result of like getting these higher standards for yourself. But when you come from a place of don't give me that, you shouldn't be eating that, that's lowering your standard for yourself.
Mhm.
Just be around people who support what you do, make you feel good, and own the standards that you make, because it really will shine in your life, right?
Absolutely. And look at it as you're reaching for the things that are going to make you feel healthy, as opposed to what you're not getting or you're giving up, as people say.
Yes.
It's so easy, like you mentioned about your brain before. And there is also, I've noticed in like mental health, we have our brain is working with us just like our body, to your point. So when you see something that you really don't want to do and it feels uncomfortable to you, your brain is going to want to work with you. Would you like me? It's almost like, how you talk to Chat GPT, your brain is coming up with things. Would you like me to find a way to get you out of this? And if you really don't
True.
think it'll work, your brain is like, oh, focus on all of these algorithm things will come up about the one person who this diet didn't work for, when you don't even know what they're eating. And you'll find that and you'll seek it out. But when you know in your heart this is the right thing and you've seen the transformation, and you start to just allow yourself little by little to lean into it, you have a coach, like you, or someone who's feeling, allowing you to love yourself, and not this restrictive punishment, like you have to go through 90 days of being miserable, because like who wants to do that? And obviously when you grow a muscle, things are a little uncomfortable, but you don't want to also tear your muscle. Like, so it's just like exercising, you have to ease your way into it, and find those little joys in this that you can celebrate and start to build on.
Yeah, I actually find if this lifestyle, when like the going gets tough sometimes, which it does on this lifestyle, is my brain defaults back to how I originally got on this. As in, it defaults back, is this something I want to do? Do I want to stay on this? Is this working? And because I went into this from such a great place, like of love and enjoyment and positivity, is I've got a real like cheer squad, or like a pattern there already established that this is a good thing. When things start to go wrong, the brain it finds things to match that. So it starts going, I forced myself through or this restriction and this detox, and I forced myself. It wants to support what you think. And so
Mhm.
when my brain goes to think about it, my whole journey is pretty much positive. So when I try and squirm out of something, which you will, it's not, we work at this all the time, is my
Yes.
support system is what I've built. And that's why I, as a coach, so often meet someone where they're at, instead of forcing something onto them so that they build this life. They raise their standard at their pace, but when their brain starts sending them back, they turn around and all they see is positivity. But if everything has been forced forward, you turn around and you see negativity and you just match, it just agrees with how bad you feel. So staying in that space, I think, is just so important of positivity. Even if you get there slower, it's so true about like the tortoise and the hare, that, slow and steady, just keep chipping away, is better than fast and burnt out and having to quit.
I love turtles too. I've got a
Oh,
wall. Well, actually, I'll show you. Right, it's my mom and sister gave this to me. I love turtles. Let's see if it'll show up on the camera. I don't think you can see it, but you can see the silhouette of the camera of the turtle anyway. But I also have a turtle necklace. Sounded like I was going to say turtleneck, but I think that like the tortoise can teach us so much. Like we always talk about how we can learn from nature. They're one of the
yeah.
things that live the longest of all the reptiles, and they actually take their time. They go into their shell, which I equate with sometimes you just need a break. You need to come off, maybe offline, maybe be by yourself while you're healing for a little while. All of these things we can learn sometimes from animals. I feel like in things like that. So those little old what are they called, like the tortoise and the hare, like the little moral of the story, I can't remember.
Parable type things.
Yes. But I think, let's think about school and a kid. Like, I think when you first come into something, what you were saying is your experience was very positive, and mine too. I looked at it like I was going on this like 3-day experiment, this little, I went to the store, I've got all these fruits and vegetables. I can still feel the excitement that first day, like when I got home in the kitchen and saw all this. I'm like, wow, this is going to be interesting. How am I going to do this? It was like an experiment, an adventure, I call it. And it was just a very positive experience because I didn't know a whole lot. We've talked about this before. I didn't have all these people in like different things like you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't eat that, you shouldn't do this. I just think very simply we have to start like how we start kids in school. If you move them along too fast, they're going to feel negative about it because they're not going to understand. So that's why we start out by learning letters, and then we learn, words, and then we learn the alphabet or however it goes. But you know what I'm saying? Like we go in a certain order when we're teaching people, and people try to go from 0 to 100. They see this person online that only eats this one type of fruit or something, and it's great, but it's like, you have to also find out where you are. If you're coming from the standard American diet, maybe jumping into 100 days of only sprouts wouldn't be the right thing for you. Like
That's very
the thing is,
constipating.
get excited about it. Like do this in a way that you are enjoying it so that you can carry on and build on that, because you will never live a lifestyle that you don't like, and you're going to shift it around. Like mine's gone in and out of different lessons like that. Like when I started, to your point here, all these rules, and sometimes I would try to mirror my diet after someone else because, oh, I like the way that person looks, let me try her way of eating. It never worked because I had to figure out JJ's or Jen's way of doing it. Like just like life, you have to use your own creativity and figure it out. But I think the simpler you start is the better too, and learn a little bit as you go. I remember saying before to someone, like, start out with just fruit and salad if that works for you, either salad, then fruit, salad, whatever in the day. But then start adding a recipe. Maybe you get your recipe book, for example. I swear she didn't make me say that. But like I'm serious because I've been thinking about doing one recipe a week to try to show Dawn I can actually still be a raw chef somewhere along the line. But and then you start to find things you like and you start adding that on. Just like when you first started cooking, we all probably started with a microwave meal. We didn't start with like gourmet dinners. So ease yourself into it.
There's so many things I could say here, but I think the school analogy is so true, is because we all come from trauma. If you're coming into a raw lifestyle, you have a trauma background, and you come in and you you skip kindergarten and you're thrown straight into year 5 or year 6, and the whole thing traumatizes you. Yes, there are good moments, but most of it seems scary, overwhelming, daunting, and you're a bit lost. Like starting kindergarten with the crayons and the painting, which is just adding the fun of it in. I
Mhm.
just really I feel like once I found raw foods, I was very aware of my weaknesses. And my weakness was that my whole life, I thought that, some expert had written a book, so they nailed what you were supposed to do. And if I didn't do what they did, I had to throw it all out. Like it just wasn't for me. It wasn't going to work. I
Mhm.
really knew that raw food made me feel so good. I had to do it for life. And it was about facing what my weaknesses were. And that is that I try to jump into year 5 or year 6. I try and jump ahead. Skye, like it was because I was confronted with something so great that I needed a long-term plan. And that was to create fun. What do shops have when I go out into the community that I can have? Smoothies and juices. And where is my closest fruit shop and health shop? Okay, they're here. And I've spoken a lot about my website, how I mapped all of this out, so that I created a lifestyle. And another thing I want to say is when you come into a lifestyle that you need to get rid of parts of yourself, you aren't really raising on what you've already learnt. So, in the idea that you've destroyed yourself in the past and your job now is to fix your past, you're trying to get rid of who you were. Whereas I was pretty much proud that I'd even survived. And all the tools I learnt before I found raw foods were my motivation for eating raw foods. But I think it's really important not to get into a mindset of getting rid of ourselves. Just can know that it's a journey, and you're just raising your standards from where you've been. Because anytime you are in negativity, even if you're feeling all of this detox and badness, it's still trauma. It's
Mhm.
exactly the same as if you're eating a donut or a hamburger. Your body can't distinguish. It doesn't now go, okay, you've stopped eating for 3 days, though
Mhm.
in that there is autophagy. Any trauma you go through is held. That's why a lot of people, I've worked with people who have fruit trauma, who are adverse to fruit because they did it for so long when they didn't want to, that the thought of it now is too much. And instead of that is do balance. Like it's all about like raising your standard into your balance, into feeling good, and don't traumatize yourself anymore. Be the tortoise, go nice and slow because it always wins. And a huge principle that I applied to not only the food, but like the tortoise is you've got to just keep showing up. And the
Mhm.
raw foods allows you to do that because you're not so sick anymore. So, I eventually started running and doing Pilates and swimming, but that started with a walk out to the front of my house, a walk to
Mhm.
the end of the street, a walk to the park. And then I got around to the Esplanade, like in front of the beach. And then I got up to 2 or 3 kilometers. So by the time I ran, it took me a year and a half until I could run. It was only bits of running. But then I got to a stage where I'm running 5 kilometers. Now, a lot of people get up and they want to just run 5 kilometers. So they get up and they just put their jogging gear on and then they're traumatizing themselves. I can't
They're
do
hurt.
it. Like mindset where they've really kind of destroyed themselves before they even start. Where the tools I've learnt, the knowledge I've learnt, the strength I've learnt, the confidence I learned came from everything I did up until learning to do 5 kilometers. So there's also like so much you learn from what you do. I think it's so important as well.
Definitely. That was such good information right there. Like building on one thing. Like we didn't start anything in life by just going all the way and knowing everything about it. We had to learn as we go. And like I love what you said about giving up parts of yourself. We've all changed, but we've changed by getting onto like a new phase of our life, a new, season of our life. And then those parts just naturally kind of, leave us because we're different in a sense that we might have gotten a little bit more experienced. But it's not like we don't have that little that child inside of us, and we can never lose that. Ever get around somebody that you hung out with maybe in your high school days or something, and you just turn right back into that person, but not literally, like, where you do maybe something as immature as you might have done then or something, right? I don't think I'm going out and staying up all night, as far as those type of things. But you feel that person inside of you is always still there when you were a kid. Maybe somebody you run into that you went to elementary, school with. You come back to that moment in that time, and you are a different person, but you have part of that person in you, and that's what we have to look at this journey as we're raising our standards. I love what you said about not putting other people down where they are, because it's like, by standard, you're not saying you're better than someone. You're saying, this is what I will put in my body, which is a personal choice. And this is what I need to heal. And let them, let that flow over, that excitement, that energy, as you start to heal things going on, whether it be, disease, or maybe you feel better, more energy, better skin, whatever happens, allow yourself to enjoy those changes, and kind of allow your joy to overflow into others. I think when we, look like we're not happy, it's something missing that we obviously aren't. So we have to tweak something. It's not that this lifestyle might not be for you. It might just be the way that you're coming into it is too harsh for yourself, or too many things all at once. And it's a big change. And there are people who like to do different things, but like you said, you're learning as you go. So some people like to jump into the pool, and some people like to go in, like you said, I think one of these live streams, a little bit at a time. But the thing is, it just depends on you. And maybe you go in a little bit, you put a foot in and you realize, I love this, and then you jump all in. But maybe you have to do it that way. So doing it the wrong way, or rushing yourself into it, I always tell people, if you want to just start figuring out what kind of fruits you like, what kind of things can you go. And I will say, though, that your taste changed, so you kind of gotta get rid of the cupcakes and things like that, or at least that aren't raw, right? Like, or aren't healthy cupcakes, because you're also, your microbiome and your brain, again, like we talk about, your body's working with you, your brain's working with you. If it still has those pleasure areas and you haven't created new pleasure areas, I think it's going to always figure out a way to do. See, I knew this wasn't working. My stomach felt too empty last night. Maybe you just need an avocado, like I do sometimes.
That's such a thing I would say.
You don't have to
Get yourself
starve. Just go eat
get
another
yourself
avocado.
a t-shirt.
Much good. 1/3 of an avocado. Like, yeah, maybe
I
if
love that.
you want to go by a protocol, but don't be so strict with your own standards that you won't, like, let it breathe.
Yeah, all of that is
I
so true.
rambled
Also,
there. Sorry.
no, the brain also doesn't know whether you're talking about someone else or yourself. So if you get up in the morning and get online, you look what that person does. They're not, look, I'm doing this and they can't do that. And oh, look at that. That's all self-projected
Hmm.
internally. The brain doesn't know. It just because you start saying I'm better and I'm good and I do this and then judging others is you would tear yourself apart. So it's really important to just worry about you, and the light that shines off you is what you want to affect others. You essentially want to see the results. I mean, we don't want to sit around and watch Olympians train for 3 years. We want to see the results of their training. That's what we want others to see. So don't think that what you say should actually affect somebody while you're in training. It's when you have all that energy, like I did eventually get to the 5 kilometers, that people go, what did she do?
That's
And then
amazing.
they can go off on their journey. It's just I can't the brain, and we talk about this, about like the pleasure that the brain wants in its life is like kind of futile as to what we want our goal to be. We don't want our goal to be something that's harsh constantly, because I feel like that's still our past and we need to move into how we do it. And talking about cupcakes is a goal, and your standard could be, because we've got to change our lifestyle, right? Is Saturday afternoons you might have, I don't know, in the morning is kids sport, and then in the afternoons you got cake, on the way back is maybe Friday night or even Saturday afternoon, is you make a raw recipe. And the benefit of that is yes, you have to put effort in, but what you yield from that effort is really, really great. You get skills from making the food, but also after you eat it, you don't feel like crap. Your brain has literally learnt to eat and just be hit with dopamine while you eat, and then you feel like shit. Sorry, but then
Mm-hmm.
you have to seek out more pleasure, and the pleasure's only there while you have it, and then you crash out. And you start teaching yourself you can create a recipe. And yes, at the start it will feel like effort, but just like riding a bike, driving a car, it becomes second nature eventually if you keep doing it. But afterwards you feel raised and good, and this is something your brain hasn't experienced. It was a huge thing for me as I was healing, to continue to experience that. And it motivated me not to eat what everybody else was eating, because I couldn't believe that my whole life I'd felt like crap after I'd eaten and never
Mm-hmm.
knew actually consistently feel good. And that is like another reason to raise your standard, is you should feel good all the time. You want your life to feel good, and to feel good, do things that make you constantly feel good. That we really grow up learning that we're hit with instantaneous gratification, and then we wonder why the world ended up with all that it has, with like, you know, poker machines and like things that just give us this like hit, and that doctors have given us like medication which is a hit. We need to retrain and raise our standard to feel good all the time. And what we are battling against is that we've all, this hit will be missing, and we're just retraining that it's a consistent now feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that. Uh,
yeah.
I was going to say too, you can recreate those desserts or whatever it is that you're craving within your new standard. Like I was talking about ice cream, for example. If you're craving that ice cream, and maybe it's for some reason once you really start having fruit, you'll start to crave those things. But maybe you're craving something like what Skye's drinking right now, which looks really good. She didn't even bring me one, but uh,
Here you
pass it
go.
over. Can I grab it? It's this way. Okay, let's grab it. That would be kind of a neat thing one time if I made the same drink, and you looked like you were handing it to me, and I could take it, and it would be over here though, but in cross country food share, right? Um, but I was, just recreate your dessert in your own standard. I was saying when I feel like ice cream, I might make bananas, almond milk, dates, whatever that is, or maybe strawberry and almond milk, like I had the other day, or one of the delicious recipes you can find, and you're still having that feeling, because sometimes that's all we want. Like you said, it might be that little nostalgic feeling that you want. Sometimes you want something creamy like that. There's almond milk. There's, you can add the walnuts or whatever it is that you can make it with to make sure that you're getting that texture you like, because a lot of food is just texture, but you wouldn't go for something that wasn't in your standard. And talking about like kids and things like that, I'm thinking too, what is our reward center? We've talked about that before. We're giving them like, oh, have the pizza after the game, and
Yes.
imagine if we just were young enough that we were all geared to celebrate with fruit. Like, we're going to get big watermelons and cut them up and make them look like little trucks or whatever, for the birthday party. And those type of things, if we start, that's what you almost have to retrain your brain to do, is enjoy the things that are making you feel good. Like you said, those things that aren't just making you feel good for 30 seconds, and then you're going to be down on yourself. You're going to be feeling bad because I wanted to start my healthy diet. I've been wanting to, get to my optimal weight. I'm trying to fix this pain, this chronic pain, but you know that you have let yourself down. You let your own self down to your own standard, and it's worse than if you would let someone else down. Like as coaches, that it's important. Like I feel like more I'm here to help people get that love back to themselves and realize that this is all a building block, not like to put you down or to make you feel bad, because you're doing that to yourself already so much. We just have that, we really have to watch the way we speak to ourselves. Before I forget, can we write down internal thermostat? That's another good topic we could talk about. I don't think we've done that yet.
Sure, we can
Oh,
definitely do
hi.
that.
What's that there? Hookstagram. Hookstergram. Thank you for joining.
Internal thermostat. I think if we looked at this in how do we return to love, as opposed to how do we fix we're broken, then you start to create like a future life for yourself. So when I could first get up and heal myself, the only blueprint I had was that I could see online there were girls who seemed to be really happy that didn't really have anything other than like healthy foods, tea, exercise, holidays, and there was no like alcohol, or like they didn't need a whole lot of junk food. And they were always like look like they were in more comfy clothes than they were in like showing off type clothes. And I started to do what they did before I actually reached what they had. And that
Mhm.
is, you know, that in the picture, and that's because remember I couldn't read what I was doing. I only had pictures. Is
Right.
being able to be up and buying myself, and this was huge for me because I was on disability payments only, and I was like really like tight with my money. But I bought myself an outfit which I would wear in the kitchen to kind of like mimic what I saw other girls doing, which are in like lounge wear, which is like a nice tracksuit and a top. And they get in the kitchen, they look like they were having fun. And this is just on reels, right? But I was creating what I wanted my future to look like. So I'd be in there and being like, imagine this is my whole life. And look at it is my whole life. I'm always
It
having
is. Isn't that amazing? Like, just for maybe people
yeah.
on one of my pages that don't know you, like Skye literally, I'm not even going to attempt to name it, but she healed herself without textbooks. She healed herself with her own instincts of eating raw food. Like, literally, this makes me feel good. This makes me feel bad, and kept reaching for it. And if we can just do that, I think that's the biggest lesson in the whole thing. Like, how you've had like 60 surgeries at that point. Like, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
But like what I really know, and you can hear from my story, and even that I wasn't sitting around reading like how broken my body is and 20 new ways that I need to fix myself. I was dreaming up and conjuring, and because I couldn't read these textbooks at the time, this life that I pictured in my future. You will have that life if you keep showing up. And I would, every time I went to my kitchen, I'd put my little outfit on as if I was stepping into becoming one of those girls that I used to watch on Instagram until I became one. Do you know what I mean? So that,
That's
and
it. Believed
I
it.
didn't
You
even
believed
think about
that.
it until I said it now, because I think a lot of my journey, it was just me. Like I could, when it's just you, and it does, even if like other people, when you leave the house, can see you, I couldn't communicate very well at the time with people because of the FND. So that's all I had. And I was like, well, you may as well make believe. And I did a live with Marabella about how so much of my life, and I still use it, I use make believe like children do. Children spend a lot of time, and their brain is in a different wave state than ours as adults, but they spend a lot of time dreaming that they're princesses, mums, dads, sisters, firefighters. They're building castles in the sand, and that's how they create who they become. But when I had nothing, that's all I really had. So I use that as in like, children are very similar. They know when they don't
I
want
saw
something.
that live stream, incidentally, not to interrupt, but it was
No,
amazing.
right.
I was all in the comments. I
Yeah,
remember, like, and it really made me reflect of people like now, like, I want to be a full-time YouTuber. Some people can't get their head around it, and some people can. Like, you were just manifesting, like, that you wanted this lifestyle. And, like, if you truly believe it like a child, obviously you have to start there. You have to start most,
you do.
and if you're by yourself, that's perfect because you didn't have any more doctors and things shooting it down, probably.
True. And also, I think back to that time, is I used to, a lot of the time, I need movement and I couldn't get outside, but I used to try and remember things would come up from when I was a child, like dance routines and things I used to do. And I used to put the phone was my only buddy. My phone was with me all the time because I was disconnected from my family and everything. So it was like my one friend. And so a lot of what I did, I would set my camera up like my friend with me, whether I was like doing some dancing to get my body trained once I got up. In the kitchen, my phone was there. And then I remember many times I've pretended like that I was already a YouTuber, that I was already being able to share my journey. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is if anybody does want to do that, is if you go back to when I first started sharing 3 years ago, about maybe no, almost 4 years ago now, um, I I would post just my salad. It was just a picture of a salad, and that would be it for maybe a week. And I would look who liked it. I would look at like critique how I wrote it, and to a point where I'm posting like 3 or 4 times a day, maybe more because on different platforms. But it doesn't start like that. So never. It's that's the same with raw foods. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just incorporate a raw meal here and there. Don't be like it's the same as starting a YouTube channel, right? Is you don't just get up there and you're posting like every single day. Is you
Right.
might start, you just show up once, and it's such a huge overwhelming deal that it takes you a week or 2 weeks or a month till you turn up again. It's the same with everything in your life, but you got to keep doing it. So it might get to that one time a week, and the best thing to do is like that make believe is make it fun. Make that, because you'll want to go back to it. The brain wants to go back to fun. So make that ice cream, and then when you taste it, you're like, you know what? It's not as sweet as regular ice cream. Well, where you're at now, your body obviously needs more sugar. So put in some more bananas, some more dates, some more maple syrup. Meet
Mm-hmm.
yourself where you're at and acknowledge that you're not having regular ice cream. You're now having cashews, banana, and maple syrup. And that's enough for now. Don't be like, no, I'm bad because I'm having cashews, bad maple syrup, and maybe there's too many bananas or not enough. The more you punish yourself, the more the brain's job is to not have you in that situation again. Like that's its whole purpose, for you not to be uncomfortable and to feel horrible, and it will just not go back there. So you have to enjoy it. Joy. You have to find joy.
Joy and ease. It's even in the book title. We have to, right? Like, it's like I just looked up above my head as you were saying it. I thought you had words popping on the screen, right? But it
Yeah.
was like you are so right, and don't like try to do everything at once too. Like you said, because at some point your taste buds or whatever that they are, they do change. And like I find that something now, I couldn't eat something as sweet as I would have that first couple of months I was raw, because somewhere along the line you start adapting to natural sugars, but in the beginning you're not like that. So you have to start where you are. To your point, you have to like add as much dates and bananas and something. Like if you need extra grapes, oh, I only wanted 10 grapes. That's why I do not like these like diets that are really really strict, because it's like make yourself like it. You're already eating fruit and vegetables. Like relax. Like
That's
don't worry
exactly what
about
I
this
thought.
many things. Trust me, if you are just making it taste good within this parameter of fruit, veggies, nuts, and seeds, at least in the beginning. Maybe at some point you're starting to feel like, oh, I'm feeling a little more sluggish when I eat more nuts. That's for you to figure out, and then to pull back some of the nuts. If you are feeling like, oh, I'm more energized when I have that strawberry and kale smoothie instead of when I have the, maybe the walnut chia seeds and avocado smoothie, you find that out, but you have to figure it out. But like it's already like enough things out there that you're going to find things you enjoy, because there's so many. I saw this post with like this person, it was obviously sarcasm, but it was like, I don't have anything to eat now that I'm vegan. And it was like 500 foods that they saw in the, I only have blah, 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 blah. It went through every, as many fruits and vegetables, nuts. Like there's plenty of things. Trust me, you're only giving up, if we want to even say it that way, from your old diet, probably like 4 different food groups when we break it all down, to dairy and things like that. So and you're going to feel so much better. Like for me, when I got rid of back pain and allergies and lost the weight and never gained it, like except for small fluctuations, like when I probably had 30 avocados in one day. I'm just kidding. I didn't do that.
I think I might have been there.
I do. Maybe I have to limit
That.
myself a little on the avocado, but like it really does allow you that flexibility to do something you enjoy. And the kitty
Yeah.
is agreeing with me. I forgot where I was going because the cat started like clawing at me a little bit.
I think we're both saying here you need to find how you can find joy, pleasure, happiness, love, connection to yourself in your new raw lifestyle, because the more you sit in lack, the brain's job is to get you away from that. So
Right.
it will work for a small period, and that's why people cling on to it, right? Is they do these protocols which they don't like, but they want to fix an ailment they have. But you, somewhere in you know that inside of you knows that you are going to get the ailment back if you don't do this for the next 40 years. So the
Mm-hmm.
only way you can do something for 40
That's what it
years
was.
is to make
Thank you.
you love it, have, access to enjoying it. And it will change over time, but do not discredit. And I did a live about this, I think it was only yesterday, about I'm not telling people right now to stop eating meat, because more than likely if they stopped eating meat and eggs and whatever else and even cheese and stop cooking all in one day, they'll go back to doing it. And that's not helping the planet or themselves. You're better off to go step by step. So stop, I said you might start with processed food and then you move it to meats, and then, but every step you take is huge for most people, like huge. And honor that and be proud of yourself for taking a step towards raising your standards, because we don't want you raising your standards so high that you lose all the tools that the tortoise learns along the way, and that you go crashing all the way back to the start, and then you're like, I just can't do it, and you always know that you felt better, but you're in this battle with yourself. Is it's better to slowly chip away. If you take a step back, that's all right. You know the tools to move yourself a little bit forward again when you're ready. And you'll have learnt more by falling back a little bit than absolutely tumbling down and breaking your neck and not getting back up again, right? Is so little tumbles, like little grazes along the way, help move us forward even more. But like, I just always want someone to have value in themselves and creating their journey. I even say when I do these lives and I hand out like what I'm eating at the moment, I don't necessarily think that will work for you, but it's good to know. You might go, oh, I see chia. I like chia. Chia is something I'm drawn towards. That's how the world it would work if we were living outdoors. Is if we see these plants or trees, we would be drawn to them. If we're in a group and they're eating something and we see somebody else, monkey see, monkey do. So I remember when I studied psychology, is they found that monkeys mimic. A lot of what they do is just learning from older monkeys. They
Right.
don't. You get them out of the environment and they start doing what humans do or others do. Is so we mimic what's around us. And I mean that's another reason that while you're raising your standards, is you have a right as well to decide to pull back from things which really imprint on you too much. You can always, next 40, 50 years, you can go back to your family or your friends when you're stronger and that you can be around them and have self-love still. But you can always give yourself some time. It's how each person needs to find a way to fall in love with themselves.
And also what you're like adding, because if you can't get away from all the things that you're already doing without finding something you like. So I find before you get rid of maybe everything in your diet, or you have to start figuring out what you like, even if it's that very
Like
first
that.
instant you get rid of all of your food in the fridge. You better have something else in there, because if you get hungry, guess what's going to happen? The app's going to come up and you're going to get a delivery of something that you are comfortable with. So like, start to figure out what you like, try that big salad. Make sure you're putting some type of fat and or omegas on it, like I know both of us talk about, because I think a lot of people feel like they're starving. And it's sometimes I can't even go like a full day on just only fruit without like nuts or avocado. So, and I've been doing this a while. So like your body needs certain things. And if you are, giving yourself a huge deficiency, if you're trying to lose weight, your body's always going to try to get back to where it was. And so doing it in a steady, slow way is so important. Like, and worry about the process, not the end product. Find something each day that you're going to do towards this process, whether it's I'm going to go out in the sun for 10 minutes tomorrow and also have fruit for lunch. Just those two things, committing to that, even committing to figuring out what four fruits are you like throughout this week. What I'm going to try some different ones and see what my taste is matching, something that I might be able to, add to my diet. Sorry, they're cutting the lawn or something out here. It's getting a little bit loud. I apologize.
That's all right. I actually find that the hardest work I've done is staying on a steady keel, an even keel, because I think we have this inbuilt learnt ability to get dopamine and get high off the thought of the result. So like pushing through with something like a mono fruit for weeks, we can stay doing that because we think of the result and we've seen others do it and we're going to gain something and it's in our head. Whereas showing up every day is not something and that's very similar to like the quick hit of something. Does that make sense? So like growing up is like we do something, we push through, like mow the lawns, right? We don't really like it, but we do it to get pocket money, or we find quicker ways to do it because we want it to be over and done with. It's like what we're doing is we don't actually want to sit in it, but to actually sit in something that you're going to do forever and show up for yourself is something that the brain hasn't been conditioned very often to do. We dissociate a lot, right? Imagine, dream. It's like you open a book and the promise of losing weight is so great and so dopamine driven is at the start. We're okay to starve ourselves, not have variety, not feel pleasure, because we keep thinking of this of ourselves in the future. But I knew for me that every time I'd done that, I never got anywhere. The only way that I've stayed raw and created my life is to fall in love with it on my terms. And that may not appease everybody else, but I'm not here to do that. I'm here to finally find me. And I think I still find myself falling into ways where, I'll speed the process up a bit, or like a shortcut. All that shortcut does is make, when I return to doing my everyday, it makes it all that more difficult, because now I've got this addiction pattern in my head where I keep drifting off thinking, for example, like when I reintroduce like chocolate, is you don't raw cacao, is because it's a bit stimulating, is I'd skip a meal and I'd be like, well, this is easy. I feel lighter. I don't have to like think of a meal. And it's just, it's like a drug seeking type behavior. And that's how I've really lived most of my life. And I'm also thinking, because I'd put on a bit of weight and I didn't know why at the time. And I'm like, oh, I'll just lose some weight as well. And it's that mindset where you think you're going to get somewhere quicker, but all it does is end up self-destructive. And then when you come back to doing what you needed to do and what loves you the most, you've got an addictive new pathway that keeps intruding. So, which is part of my journey. And I've had massive addictions, like from opioids to vaping to drinking to smoking, and then the foods, of course. But it's really like hard. Like it's I don't know if it's hard work, but it's what we never really taught ourselves, that we have to show up for ourselves and do the routine daily. And that's why you have to do it on your terms and how you can, because we're just never taught that. Well, like at school, we're taught how to learn something to really work for somebody else or do something for someone else, and put others first. And if it's all this self-sacrificing, and no wonder in our lifestyle we just start sacrificing ourselves instead of actually learning to love and nurture us as if we're this little baby or this human we were supposed to care for on this earth. Like that's our only job. Everything comes secondary to that. Yeah.
Exactly, because we can't really take care of others or ourselves or do anything really if we really truly think about it. All these things that we think are of importance, the reason I really had to come to this conclusion when we talk about standards and things like that is I have to be a good version of myself to be able to take care of others, to be able to nurture maybe the things that I'm trying to do and
Mhm.
pursue my passion. Even my work is improved when I'm feeling good and healthy. You have to be the best version of you to take care of children, or if you have little animal friends that you've adopted, or if you have family or a spouse, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, the to be the best version of you is so important. And the first thing it starts with is what's inside of you. If you don't feel good about yourself and you feel like you're in a constant struggle, or you're in pain, or all of those things spin off of that. So whatever you're thinking is, I can't spend a little bit of extra to get my organic, cherries today because I have to get this, whatever that is probably something that you should put underneath the organic cherries, I'm guaranteeing, because your health start like it's what you live in. It's more important than your house, because what good is the house if we're, and it's like, yeah, and I hear this all the time, but you got to have fun. But that's the point. Having fun, it's like having your cake and eating it too, pardon the cliche. If you're having
Yeah.
fun within a healthy lifestyle, and these things happen, like you said, little bit at a time. I would have never in my life 10 years ago thought that I would be this version of me talking about, eating healthy, right? So that happened a little bit at a time. It started with going out and buying some fruits and vegetables and trying this crazy 3-day experiment, and then feeling good after 3 days and trying to go for, maybe I'll try 7 days, and then realizing, oh my goodness, my back's feeling better. So now I became a different standard. Well, I don't want to eat that stuff because of that now. And also finding other things I like, perfecting this salad, posting pictures of them online, and feeling, oh wait, other people are actually seeing these differences. Like, it's a piece by piece thing, but if you never take that very first piece and at least give your minds, let your mind wrap around it and try something different, I would have never ever said I'm gonna write a book about raw veganism at some point. Like, that was not who I was. So it wasn't like that would have turned me away from it. It's like those little baby things that you do in life, those little processes of, if you want to, lose 100 pounds, maybe you feel like you need to do that. It's like that all starts with one healthy meal, one healthy choice, one mindset, like Skye said, and really inner child believing that things can happen. Because it's like when you see the big transformations, sometimes you feel so far behind, and I'm still working on myself. I'm not perfect where I want to be in this lifestyle either, but it is a journey. So I think that's where this happens. Anything you're trying to do in life, remember that everything you're doing, even the like what you might think is a setback, is actually a projection forward. It's making you who you are. I know, like, we both came from very different backgrounds than who we are now, but we're still that same person, and both of us still had that inner child to say, you know what, I can do this. And that allows
Okay.
you to be happy about the process. Hey, Apple.
And I think all you don't worry so much, have the where you want to get to, but master where you are right now. I promise you, mastering exactly where you're at the level you're at, and being confident in that gives you confidence when you are now eating, like maybe you're still doing high raw. Become the master of being high raw. So when you get to raw, you've got the confidence of what you already know. You know you can do the next level, and then you become a master at wherever you've entered as a raw foodist. But if you try and become a master of, let's go back to mono fruits or sprouts only, yet you're at the moment eating a standard American diet, you've never mastered everything in between. So even if you take a step back, you've got no skills. So it's literally wherever you're at, to raise your standard, become the master of knowing, how to do, I just think master where you're at. Don't worry about mastering another level, because you will. And people can't stay on just sprouts or just one food, right? Is they have to come back down, and
Hmm.
without the tools you will go back to what you used to do. So my greatest advice to everybody is, every level you go up, you become the master of.
I like that. And you already have everything in you to do
You
whatever it is you want
do.
to do, for real. Like, because think about things that you've done in your lifetime. If you're watching this, man or woman, you have done some great things, in your life. And, whether you're younger or older, it doesn't even matter, because, you even have extra experience inside of you. So I know that if you're looking at this like, yeah, but I have so far to go, I haven't even started this, like Skye said, one little action, that's all you need.
That's right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, JJ. I love this as usual.
Me too. I was like so much energy today. I'm like, oh my goodness, I ate so many like fruits before this. I'm like, I had felt like I was even at another level. So thanks for letting me
I
ramble.
love that. Plus, I passed a juice through the computer. So
That's
you got an
right.
extra
It
here.
was definitely the juice. Don't forget, everyone, go get Skye's. Join your group. I love it, and your books are amazing. So
And your book as well, and your group. So there's lots there. That's all in the description. And we will see you all next week.
bye, Apple. Thank you, Skye.